ईश्वरो भजत श्री सत्य साई जय 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 शिव शक्ति स्वरूप मंगलदायक नाम जय जय शिव शक्ति स्वरूप मंगलदायक नाम दशरथ साई राम श्री रामचंद्र Okay. Okay. Somebody go online and check. Check. You check. It didn't come. Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. Can we change this channel? I don't. Do I have it? No.
Sairam, we will be starting our study circle in about a minute or so. I request everyone in the bhajan hall. Can we increase the volume here, Sairam? I think. Let's start the study circle today with 3 ohms. Dear Swami, we are so grateful to be able to meet here together in your presence today. While we are here together studying your word in your Bhagavata Vahini, we ask that you open our ears and hearts to whatever it is you want us to learn. Please speak through each one of us and help us progress in our spiritual journey. Jai Sai Ram. Sai Ram, everyone. We just, as an etiquette, just want to remind everyone to mute your cell phones. Let's stay on the topic. Let's not debate or judge, and let's add to our let's add our takeaways for this study circle. And of course, the best way to learn is to try and leave our ego outside this bhajan hall. So with that, I'm going to just go ahead and talk about the last session review. We were talking about karma and dharma. We are actually working on uh, reviewing what Swami had said about karma and dharma and his little discourse on that. With that, we started last week with free will and divine will. And I had asked Dr. Sundar Iyer for an input, and he had actually talked about how free will and divine will cannot be experienced unless you are free and you are aware of your uh, the of yourself versus the body and our attachment to the body and the ego. So that was his. And then we talked about how only divine can will the existence of this world. We also talked about being in the moment and practicing what we have at hand today, because that's what is in our control. The other thing that we moved along talking about is how this body is made up of desires and how every action that we have is attached to a consequence. So that's at a very high level. Does anyone have anything to add? Okay, so we can move along. I think we are going to continue with karma and dharma, and I'm sorry to. All right, so this is the continuation of Swami's discourse. Bhargav, do you mind reading? Yeah.
It is not easy to explain in what form and in what manner karma follows a person. A cow that feels proud about its horns and its size finds itself controlled by a rope through its nostrils on account of its karma. Hence, one must bear with whatever troubles that may come, treating them as the consequences of past actions. But the effects can be mitigated or removed by earning the divine grace. As you sow, so shall you reap. Men today do not view things in this manner. Considering some person as the author of his misfortunes, they tend to abuse him without thinking about their own actions. They should realize the truth of the saying, as you sow, so shall you reap. Your present state is the result of your past actions. Therefore, by doing good acts in the present, you must ensure beneficial results in the future. Everyone should realize that for happiness or sorrow, profit or loss, his own actions are responsible. Of all actions, nothing is so reprehensible as the violation or ignoring of the divine's injunctions. The Vedas have emphasized the important role of karma and urged that due regard should be had for its operation. Students should try to understand the inner meaning of all teachings. They should not concern themselves with the actions or words of individuals. They must concentrate on their respective duties. Intelligent persons may discuss matters of moment. The small minded may discuss personalities. Both types of discussions are likely to be exercises in futility. What should be realized is that nothing happens without a cause and that every result is the outcome of a particular action. Once the cause is understood, one should act on that understanding, avoiding actions that are bound to have undesirable consequences and performing actions that will yield beneficial results. Do not concern yourself do not be concerned whether someone is watching your actions or not. God is certainly watching your actions. Therefore, you must take care to always act righteously and in all situations. Today, people claim to be working for world peace. How can those who have not achieved peace within themselves claim hope to achieve world peace? Those who have not learned to look within themselves and cultivate a broad spiritual outlook are not competent to work for peace in the world. Education is for acquiring wisdom, students. Your actions are responsible for your good or ill, your fame or disgrace, your joy or grief. Do not get excited over petty demands and desires. Fix your minds on permanent ideals. The discipline you observe should not be confined to your tenure in the college. When Bhishma questioned Yudhishthira whether his faith in Krishna endured only as long as the war lasted, Yudhishthira was bitten to the quick. He realized his mistake and felt repentant deep in his heart. Today's students, however, seem to be immune to such appeals. Do you need Sai Baba only for obtaining a seat in the institute? Don't you need the help of Sai after you have finished your studies? You will need Sai always. You must not forget how you completed your studies and what the Satya Sai Institute has done for you. If you forget this, you are in for all sorts of troubles. You should not forget the pledge you have given to the Institute, whatever difficulties you may confront. Remember the example of Emperor Harishchandra, who went through every kind of ordeal to honor his plighted word. Treat your word as a sacred expression of the divine. Do not speak ill of others. Do not give room for attachment and hatred in your hearts. Education is for acquiring wisdom, not for getting material wealth. Bear in mind the message of the sages. Do not treat lightly your human birth.
Thank you, Bhargav. So I actually just kind of took away one slide out there because I thought we could discuss these two together. First one actually talks about uh, how karma leads to the effects of karma are. And then the other piece is the necessity of Sai in our lives. So I thought that both of those are uh, just kind of something that we can address together. So the first, a few things that to look for, I said, what is the spiritual outlook that we need to cultivate? And what can we practice? What can we, or how can we practice when we say our word as the sacred word of the divine? More importantly, actually, before then, I actually thought about how, as you sow, so shall you reap. How does that impact what Swami expects of us? If we have to think about as you sow, so shall you reap, then what is it? How do we, how do we act today and kind of work on that? So either ways, I thought this was a great place where we can start learning rather than just discussing. I know.
I want to just go one step back. You had asked the question the other day.
We can't hear you in the mic.
Oh, seems to be working. So you asked the question. I'm, sometime I'm not able to get up.
Yeah.
It's not. I know that in your case it's not true, because I know that there are two reasons. One is you're really lazy. Other person is one who is overwhelmed with what to do. There are so many things to do. Where do I start? And that can keep you from, I think you belong to that category, whereas I belong to the former category. Why should I get up? This is better than getting up. So it's just so happened that, there was a, in the internet and blogs, something pops up and this precise question came up.
Yeah.
And the answer came from somebody, a Stoic, who lived from 121 AD to 180 AD, very similar to, Janaka. He was actually Roman emperor, last of the Roman emperor during a period of absolute peace and prosperity, for almost 200 years. And he was in the last part of that. His name was Marcus Aurelius. If some of you might have very much heard of him. So So he asked the same question. At dawn, when you have trouble getting up, getting out of bed, tell yourself, I have to go to work as a human being. What do I have to complain of if I'm going to do what I was born for? The things I was brought into the world to do? Or is this what I was created for? To huddle under the blankets and stay warm? So you are born to feel, do you think you are born to feel nice? Instead of doing things and experiencing them, do you see the plants, the birds, the ants, the spiders, and bees going about their individual tasks, putting the world in order as best as they can? And you are not willing to do your job as a human being? Why aren't you running to do what your nature demands? This is because he says you don't love yourself enough, or you don't love nature too. So that is what is demanded of you. So in this is one part. And the other part he says is, to prepare for acting, when you wake up in the morning, tell yourself, the people I deal with today will be meddling, ungrateful, arrogant, dishonest, jealous, and surly. They are like this because they cannot tell good from evil. But I have seen the beauty of good and the the ugliness of evil, and have recognized that the wrongdoer has a nature related to my own, not of the same blood or birth, but of the same mind, uh, blood or mind, and um, I cannot hate him. We were born to work together, like feet, hands, and eyes, like the two rows of teeth, upper and lower. So to obstruct each other is unnatural. So to feel anger at someone, to turn your back to him, these are all obstructions. So the answer is more like, you have to just come and do. It just popped up. That's why I thought
Right,
I'd
right.
share that.
Thank you.
Somebody who wrote this about the beginning of
Long time ago, yeah.
beginning of the millennium.
Yeah. That's so basically they said follow the nature as well. Yeah.
Whatever you have.
Yeah.
You know,
That's
live in the present. That all this.
that's
comes
basically that's what it comes down to, living in the present, of course. Yeah, so I thought we should first start with um so do you, as you sow, so shall you reap. What does it mean? How do you realize that at every moment then? I guess. But we will, I mean, for every action, there is a consequence. So even us breathing today will have some consequence tomorrow. So,
Sairam, instead of puzzling, worrying what my action will bring about, just focus on what Baba is saying, right? Do the right, what you think is the right at the moment. Do your best. After that, leave the rest to God. And that is easier to do than keep on like torturing yourself. What will I reap in the future? What will I reap? I don't know if you're reaping from the past sins now or you'll reap some more in the future. Both are possible, which is what we can tell. I think we addressed this already in previous study circles. Is this the result or is it going to be the effect later? We don't know. It's okay. Instead of that, I think just as Baba says, but the word, I like in your next slide, what you put, like what Baba said is like, be careful about what you say. Think very carefully and utter those words, and then hold that integrity tied to that will, I think, is one of the important ways to live.
yeah, but also then the whole idea here, when he says intelligent persons may discuss matters of moment, small-minded may discuss personalities. Why are both exercises futile? I mean, when we do discuss things, sometimes it could be, we could be learning things too.
I think a lot of times we tend to, even Shirdi Baba says this. In fact, it was funny when I was started again finishing. Hemant Pant, before seeing Baba, he actually gets into an argument before he sees Baba. Yes, they talk about same thing, free will or God's will. That is the first chapter, actually, So they are discussing about the same topic, free will or gospel, and they keep on arguing back and forth, and they get tired, and they finally leave the subject. Next day, they go to Baba, and Baba says, "What are you guys arguing about?" Then he says, "Stop arguing. Stop wasting time about these type of arguments. That is what essentially it's saying is, don't waste your time with these silly arguments. Use it for better purposes.
Saira, about what you sow, what you reap. Whatever we are sowing, that means like our actions, probably, our words. We don't necessarily think of what we are going to reap later. Maybe sometimes we plan certain things and do thinking certain result, but most of the time we just do out of habit, maybe, and the funny thing about it is we do the same thing the same way every time, but expect a different result each time. That is never going to happen. In our ignorance, we do that. We say, why there is always happening to me like this, But then we look deeper, what am I doing wrong, So that is where we need to be aware of what we say, not only what we say, what we do they align and with our action? That is very important. If nothing else in Swami's teaching, that is what I hold very dear to me, So that will be our scale to measure where we are.
So how can we practice our word as the sacred word of the divine?
Your life is my message. Like he used to say, my life is my message, but now it is how we act. We don't have to, hold a microphone and scream, I'm good, I'm good, I'm doing good, Like the rose fragrance, it doesn't say I'm rose, I'm fragrant, come smell me. We can smell it. So with your actions and words, again, that is the example we can follow.
Anyone else have anything to add? Otherwise, we can move on.
What exactly it means? How can we practice? So what is the interpretation? I didn't get that.
Get the
How
mic.
can we practice our word as sacred? So what exactly is the interpretation?
Equanimity. So unity of thought, word, and action. That's what she's saying, that every time, whatever your action is, it should
Our
come.
word as the sacred word of the
Word, so-
divine.
Yeah.
How does it mean that?
No, with our action, how do we practice our word?
How can we practice our word as the sacred word of the divine?
Yeah.
We practice
Yeah.
with our
Yeah,
word.
so that's
yeah,
why she.
see, like in a dharmic way, ethical way, So we can practice it in many ways.
The way I understand is if there is no agreement between the thought and the word, then there will be that because I mean the divine works through the thought. The thought comes with the word and then the actions. If there is no synchronicity between the thought, word, and deed, then really that is not the divine word. We are not following the divine word. That is one interpretation. So if we follow that, or if we are always conscious before we say something, think whether that is true. I mean, that is one simple test we can, because many times what we do is we always say what we feel. We always pass on opinions. We always pass on hearsay information about somebody saying something to us, and we don't verify whether that is true. There is no need to convey that and to somebody else, because that's how the gossip travels. That's how the whole thing goes, and it gets distorted. Finally, when a person hears it, it'll be totally opposite to what the original person would have said. So that can happen. Yeah.
See, sit in a circle and somebody say something in their ear. Telephone? Yeah, telephone. By the end of it, it's totally different message. Another thing is like with the parents and children, we can see that if we say my children don't listen to me or something, they can see the discrepancy in parents' words and action. If we do what we say, right? And the children will automatically follow. But many times the disrespect comes from children or other people also. Some people we trust, some people we don't, because we think they are not speaking the truth.
Yeah, I want to just bring up something here. The wife comes and asks, is this saree looking good on me? Okay. And, we have talked about this. And sometimes I want to, okay. So, uh, so you have to give the answer which satisfies them because doesn't matter, if, what you feel is a very important thing there. So the sacred word of the divine might be for the benefit, for peace and harmony, and that is the sacred word. So your thought there may not be accurate. The reason I'm mentioning that, there was an example that Geeta Mohan Ram gave once. So she was young, and suddenly Swami came, and parents were not there, and she and her cousins or friends were there. And Swami said, sir, he brought a guest and said, make something and give. And she was not, she has not learned cooking too much or anything, but they decided to make some, I think, bhaji or something. So they made that, and Swami took one bit, and he said, lovely, very nice, very nice. And then he asked the guy, so it isn't very nice, and they he behaved like everything was fantastic. And then later on he left, of course, some things behind, and the girls thought, oh, that is a prasad. So they took it, and oh, we didn't put even any salt in this. It is absolutely bland. And so sometimes that the sacred word was just to praise them for what they have done. You don't be look critical about how perfect it is. So I think you have to look at this in a little bit in that angle too.
I actually was trying to understand, Venkat, about the three channels: your thoughts, your mind, and your ears, what you speak. What about the influence in this whole scenario? Can you tell me, Venkat? First, people can be influenced, and they can manipulate their thoughts and then speak. Any comments on this?
I think that's the ignorance, right? The ignorance, like if how is the world around you is influencing your thoughts. Is that what you said, Rajiv ji?
Yes.
Yes. So I think if you're focused on following God's path, then you should not let the outside influences influence you to change your path. I would just focus on what I learned as a truth from Baba's own mouth and words. For me, that is more sacred than somebody else's opinions or whether they think we are right or wrong. That's how I look at it, because everybody will be different. There 1,000 minds will think 1,000 different ways. But what is it that we chose to follow? We chose to follow, our Guru, our Baba, and he has clearly laid out the path for us. As long as we try to follow that, I think we'll be fine. And I wanted to comment on what Uma said earlier about kids. It is for the most part true, but I'll also say this. If a same couple, parents will have 4 kids, will turn out 4 different ways. One is righteous, one is horrible, one is somewhat something else. How? They're the same parents. They hold the same values. They speak the same truth. So I think there is, again, that is explained by their previous karmas and whatever they're doing, their paths. Typically we should not blame ourselves for every single thing. I think as long as we're trying to align ourselves in the right path, rest is in God's hands. We want the best outcome for everybody, all the kids, but it may not happen exactly like that.
So no, I agree with Rajiv. So I'll give you an example, right? So when we were kids, like even now, like when you do the Naivedyam to God, you are not supposed to eat before you do that. But Shabari, she ate and she gave, right? So we are told it's not right, it's not. So we are influenced by that. We are like, no, 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 you are not supposed to eat. You have to do the Naivedyam, simple thing. And then so you are conditioned that this is the right thing to do. That is not but that is not. So how do you know that that is God's dictum? That is what it is, right? So you need to, that is very hard because the social influence and this one come together.
That is when we need to, like Shobha said, we have to use our discretion. If we can speak frankly that we are not little kids as an adult, when we come across these situations, and especially if we think we are in a spiritual path and reading scriptures and holy books and listening to satsangs, that is where we use our discrimination. God has given us all the powers, like last week we were talking about. This is one of it, that this is a practical test. Let's take it that way. Okay, we read everything. We read everything about in swimming in the book, but unless you jump into the pool, you cannot practice. Same way, difficult situations come. Difficult people definitely come across. They say things you don't want to hear. They try to influence you all the time. But it is our buddhi, our intellect, that we as an adult, with our education, with our perspective, we can make the choice. Maybe this is what you call your free will, that I go this way or that way. I listen to that person, I don't listen to that person, you know. So Soumya was saying Shabari was eating first and giving to Rama, but that kind of a devotion, if we have, do we have that? You know, so we cannot just take one thing out of context and, you know, like say, but in general, if we have all that, you know,
Yeah, I
definitely
think
we
so.
can do it, right?
No, yeah,
No, but
context.
I'm
What
saying,
I will
right,
say is, we
devotion.
all have to make a choice. One choice we have to make.
Right.
So use your best discretion, intelligence, whatever, and make a choice and leave it up to God. That is what Bhagavad Gita says, right? Leave the fruit in the God's hand. But at the time, you use your best judgment. That's what we do anyway in day-to-day life. And
So-
we rely on Baba to guide us. And at the end, you say, I'm doing my best, Baba, and rest is up to you. That's all we can do,
That
right?
ties with the previous one, what you sow, what you reap,
Yeah,
right, with our actions.
actually, you know, the same example, question, you know, you're making a dish as a Navadian, and then you may choose, I want to taste it, make sure it is perfect. You know, the intent is not you, but you know, it is, you want to deliver the best. And that's what Sabari did. The other option is, I have made it, I'm not going to try it, you know, I leave it to you, whatever it tastes, you know, that is also another option. And both are decided by, you know, your own conscience. And that is where it, you know, the influence comes, you know, the external influence of both the stories, but then, you know, you decide and you are happy with that. Your conscience says this action, not eating anything and giving is what your conscience says, then, you know, you're happy. So that's where the influence has to be.
So you are saying basically that we should not be affected by the end.
So you can weigh it,
Yeah.
weigh the influence, and then you should make that decision on what is important.
Yeah, use your discrimination power, intellect, basically. Okay, let's move on to the next piece. So, would you like to read? If he wants to read, I don't. It's a long one. That's why I just want.
Show, show respect for words of elders, parents, and teachers. The Yadava clan in which Sri Krishna was born was totally destroyed because of the disrespect shown to a sage. Bharat's history is full of the lives of great souls. Bear in mind their message, which will lead of use to use sometimes or other. Their teachings are wholesome medicine for the spirit. Mundane existence is subject to a variety of diseases. For all of them, remembrance of the name of the Lord is the panacea. When you install the name of the Lord in your hearts, revere your parents and respect the divine that is present in all beings. You will be able to lead idols' lives, pursue your studies for achieving consummation, cultivate good habits. Thanks to your good karmas in previous lives, you're having the good fortune of studying here. Take full advantage of this precious opportunity. Krishna operates cancer, the body polite, politic. Dharmaraja once asked Krishna, Krishna, why did you bring about this disastrous war for the sake of this contemptible rulership of over a kingdom? 40 lakhs of warriors died in the battle. Only the Pandavas have survived. Is there any justice in sacrificing the lives of a 40 lakhs of men for the sake of the five Pandavas? Krishna replied, Dharmaraja, you are looking at the numbers involved. I'm looking at the principles at issue. Can any crores of insects equal a lion? Kurukshetra is comparable to the body. Kuru means work. The body is the instrument of action because it is the field in which action takes place. It is called Kshetra field. Supposing in the back to the of the body there is gangrene, it is if it's allowed to grow, it will spread throughout the body. If the gangrene is on the arm of or the leg, you can remove the amputation of the limb concerned. But when it is in the back, how do you feel? How do you deal with it? A major operation will be necessary.
Thank you, Om. That was fantastic. Thank you. So here is why Swami says. So we are coming down to Swami talking about how first off, he's talking about what is the message that we should bear in mind. What is, we are not just here. Mundane existence is subject to a variety of diseases. So we are not just here to do that. We are not just here to exist. Then he talks about how what Krishna said. I mean, losing 40 lakhs lives is not a small number. I mean, that's a lot. And but Kurukshetra is also comparable to a body. Then he brings out that discussion. I think we had that discussion during our Gita Vahini series when we were talking about Kuru and Kshetra. We can obviously go back to that. But more importantly, why is it worth? Is there any justice in sacrificing the lives of 40 lakhs of men for the sake of 5 Pandavas? And Krishna replied, Dharmaraja, you're looking at the numbers involved. I'm looking at the principles at issue. So, I mean, of course, in this case, it's Krishna, so he knows. But, it's very hard to say what is the right thing. I mean, we have a lot of wars going on even now.
Krishna says, never mind the quantity, quality is
Yeah.
important.
Yeah,
Right?
but that's because Krishna said it, we can believe. But in today's world, no one is saying anything. Who is on the right side? Who is on the wrong side? What is the actual right and what is the actual wrong is something that's it just depends on where we stand. So again, I come back to the same thing of how do we know what is the right action?
What I have learned is there would be always confusions like this coming in your life. You follow your guru. That's the guru. Your guru will show you the path. Their teachings will show you the path, and repeated discussions in satsang definitely will remind us at those moments. It does come as your thought. Okay, he said it this way, so let's try to take it as my lesson today, and follow it whenever the right moment comes. So, Shastra Gyan and Guru Gyan is the light, is a torchlight for us for everything. And listening to less of other things, exposing yourself less to outside materialistic things would protect you from unnecessary hearing of lot of confusions. You will be saved. You will be saved if you don't go to big occasions like Taste of India I went to today.
Most of you went anyway.
Unnecessary disturbance. We don't need all that.
We know that.
I went for a reason for my son to get exposed, but so much of waste of resources. I mean, my energy. I mean, I would say, let's not worry about rest of things. Wasting of my inner peace. I mean, it gets disturbed unnecessarily. Looking at those clothes, looking at those dresses, looking at those dances. Do we need that? Do we need that? I mean, at this stage, obviously, we need it at early age, but not at this stage, maybe.
But you made the choice. to
But
go
I
for
made
it.
the choice.
Right, yeah. That
So
is
because
the-
of some other reasons, so
Whatever that
unnecessary
might be, right.
unnecessary exposures should be avoided, strictly avoided, and that's a part of the guru's teachings also. Unnecessary exposures should be avoided. And after satsang, we used to do what we used to do. After finishing of satsang, have your food and quietly leave. Let it stay, and let's revise it instead of then changing back to the materialistic thoughts, the materialistic word, and those discussions on the dining table. Let's avoid all this. I'm just giving examples. Yeah. Yeah.
So, yeah, please go ahead.
Oh, nothing big, but I am guilty of what I did today. But that's one of the thing after 2 years I did. I did your splurging and did,
Don't justify it. Just tell me.
don't justify. Yeah, I'm sorry, not justifying. I
Yeah.
just, to Baba, and maybe I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Please pardon me.
Yeah, so that's a good point, right? So okay. If we are going to cut down what we call noise, it's hard to live in the world. Because practically what the world needs is that noise, or the world looks at is that only. The rest is not. So it's okay after a certain age or a certain time to say, hey, okay, this is not meant for me. But at certain level in our lives, if we want to be so-called successful, like at work, I have to talk, I have to say certain things, I have to be involved in a certain way to be able to maintain conversation, to have a social outlook, because that's my job. I mean, it involves what I do. But does it need to impact you at every level? So it's okay to go. You enjoyed for a day, leave the enjoyment right there. Can you come back and focus on the now?
Yeah.
Or
So-
were you there and you were still like, oh my God, I mean, this is what I have to do. I'll do it and get back to what I like to do. That's two different ways of looking at it. So it's not necessary to, I mean, this is just my thought, because I've been there, done that. And I can see then and I can see now. The only difference is that when I'm there, I don't feel like I belong. When I'm here, I feel like I belong. There is just in the mind. Yes, please go ahead.
Yeah, so, I mean, Uma had talked about it the last time. So this is really, Buddha's two arrows. So what the noise is going to be, they are going to come, in the world we are living. So what the second arrow is what we have to focus on. Let's not be bothered by that. And how do we react to that is what we can control. So,
That is the practice, basically. Practicing.
Since we're talking about like going to the places where our mind should be disturbed, now it has to be really very personal, and we should not even tell others what to do, because sometimes some people go there and thrive. They get the energy. Some people get their mind disturbed. So if your mind get disturbed, you please avoid. But somebody who goes and enjoys there and gets the energy, and we try to convince them, say, no, my God, see, this is all this.
Yeah.
So that's why one has to, and I know Bhavani mentioned it, at certain age you might feel. Now, again, that age also might vary. But yes, when personally one feels restlessness by being in a place, it's not just taste of in any place where you feel restless and you keep questioning, what am I doing here? Why am I here? Like Saujanya, if you enjoyed being there today after 2 years, please do not go on the guilt trip. Sometimes we need that energy. The example is in my house. My husband tells me openly, when you go out with people, you feel more energetic. You come back home happier. For him, it's the opposite. It's not like any festival. Just meeting people drains energy out of him. So we make the choice ourselves. I go out, he stays inside. Sairam.
Both are happy. Both are happy. See, I don't know. I have to say something here about age. um, I don't think age has anything to do with it. It is like, yes, very little young children activities, forget that. As an adult, probably, but there are 10 things. You have to do 5 of them. You don't have to do all 10 things. We do make a choice here. No matter how we justify it, we do make a choice whether to go or not to go, participate or not participate. It's all up to us. Maybe we can say, okay, when we are there, be a Roman in Rome, like you enjoy it, whatever at that moment. And then you move on. Or this is not the first time India Fest is happening. We have gone 10 times, and then maybe 11th time you can refrain from it. Enough is enough. We will come to the conclusion eventually with any activity, Whatever makes us happy, eventually we continue that one. If this is what makes you happy, go ahead and do it.
Yeah.
It's best. But age doesn't matter, because I would tell you an example that for one thing, okay, whenever we go to the store, or when my daughter was younger or teenager or in college, I would say, oh, Maya, this is 20% off. It is 50% off. Why don't we buy this? She would say, oh, Ma, if you don't buy, you save 100%. So I always remember that, every thing I will say, she will say, she's such a restriction she had. If she needs absolutely something, then only she will say, okay, let's buy it. Yeah. I have learned from her quite a bit,
Yep.
So I would like to buy things for the children, buy this and that, This was some time ago.
Mhm.
But so I'm saying age, it depends on people's, I guess.
So looking, coming back to this though, so principles at issue. You were going to say something, Simon. Please go ahead.
Just
It's fine.
how much is this God's will and how much is it is uh, our free will? going to Taste of India, for example.
Yeah,
Is
free
that
is,
God's will or
regret.
divine, our own free will?
Free will wants to go, but God's will made you there, present there, right? We wanted to go. What's the guarantee? You could have been stuck in traffic. If something else could have happened, emergency would have happened, you would have ended up in the hospital. But you went there. God's will is there everywhere.
So yeah, absolutely. So I want to come back to what Swami is saying, because here is, so for the sake of the principles at issue, you can sacrifice everything. I mean, so that is what, that is the piece there that I am.
Principle.
So here he says, Dharmaraja, you're looking at the numbers involved. I'm looking at the principles at issue. Can any crores of insects equal a lion? So basically, we are all insects. But anyway, no, you understand what I'm saying?
The quality versus
Yeah.
See, the way I see it is, imagine if Krishna had not played any role in the Kurukshetra war. What would have, and imagine that Duryodhana with his mighty army defeats Pandavas. Then what will the world think, or what the world will realize? That anything that is, arrogance and all that is okay. I mean, that's hard. That's what rules. And then everybody will try to outdo in the negative way. So I think that's where Krishna, that principle is righteous. Righteous action is so important. Righteousness is so important that if we don't sacrifice for that sake, then it's going to be complete disaster.
If Krishna was not there, I don't think we will be talking about this at
I
all.
know we may not be
So
talking.
that is the crucial. Right.
Sometimes we may be talking on the negative side of what.
No,
what
I don't know
happened.
if this Mahabharata or Gita was born because of him. It won't be there. That story won't survive the whole thing. See, like in Ramayana, without Rama, there is no Ramayana, right? Without Krishna, I don't know.
I think
This
the
story will
message-
be an ordinary story.
No, the
Right.
message what he's saying is, I think, see,
No, no.
winning by hook or crook, that's
Yes.
not the lesson we want to learn. We want to learn that the following the righteous path will ultimately win
Right.
eventually. We want to know that, because
Mhm.
then people who are willing to follow will keep following it. Otherwise, the message would have been, oh, yeah, we can live however we want, get whatever we want in whatever way we want.
But one thing is here, Krishna was guiding them guiding force. But like our life, like Bhavani keeps saying, where is Krishna, where is Baba?
So
Right.
I actually, let me add here.
Such clear cut right and wrong.
Krishna was not there in World War II, but he was obviously present in some form because the allies joined together and then, fought the war. So there was righteousness versus, unrighteousness or whatever you might call, but it turned into a big war, like whatever you are talking here, and a lot of people lost lives. And, it comes in one form or the other, there was no Krishna, but obviously his principle was still there. And it was only on basis of principle that, that war was fought. And, people joined together to fight the war. So I think Krishna exists in one form or the other.
So I don't know this question. Is there any justice in sacrificing the lives of 40 lakhs of men for the sake of the 5 Pandavas?
That's a very good question.
This is it's kind of like I don't know. I keep asking. I keep asking Samya, like it's kind of not bothering me, but I don't understand. If someone
So-
can explain, if someone can explain that to me, please.
I see this is whatever he did, the 40 lakh people died. When you look at it's not for Pandavas, it's just a reference. Pandavas refers the right actions. There is not physically, don't look at 5 number of people there. What is referring is Pandavas represent the righteousness. So your sacrifice is not for Pandavas, but for righteousness, right actions and balance in the society for Dharma.
See, when I read this, I immediately felt like that Kurukshetra is happening right in our body, mind only, right? Every minute it is happening, that Kurukshetra. And like, for example, you are talking about Taste of India, right? So initially you lose the desire to buy because you think, okay, what will I do with another dress? So you lose the desire. Similarly, there are times when you will like lose the desire for the satsang because you have reached the point like silence is the best for you at that time, right? So there will be this state of desirelessness slowly coming to that point, right? So this Kurukshetra, that mind body thing is constantly happening unless and until this consciousness evolves, it spreads through our mind and calms the mind. Till then, this war will continue to go on. Forget about that. Krishna is right here in us and is going on.
I was also guilty of going to Taste of India. Yes, but I didn't stay.
Yeah,
So it's all about choice.
yeah.
The mind likes excitement. Definitely, if you follow the mind, if you think that's exciting to do whatever.
Mhm.
But after a while, even that wears off. Like you said, how much can you accumulate? How many people can you see? And they're aging and don't have much to say.
Yeah.
I mean, so you have to come to finally going inside and spiritual insight, which is very rare, especially in America. In India, I think it's available in a lot of places.
Yeah.
So you have to really guard it. And any way you find it, that's where God is directing you, I think.
Correct. Thank you. So, so at the same time, like going to India, I'm just talking about today's Taste of India. The reason that I want to bring this up is this was the same event that some of us have put in hours and hours of work to make it this successful today. Today, there are tens of thousands. There was a time that there were no programs. They reached out to say, hey, can you please help us with programs? And I know some of us have worked through that piece. So my point is that today it is there. Today they don't need us anymore. We can, so that is the piece that we tend to forget, that even with all of this noise, again, we made that choice that, hey, they needed it at that time. We did our share. Step back, because there is the next person who's coming in to take that. You should also be aware to give up when it's not needed. Yeah, please go ahead.
Very, very good point, Bhavani. So basically the guilty, I see, that's the point, right? Going to Taste of India is a guilty or not guilty. Very deep, right? So there are two options here, right? Why you should be guilty or not guilty? That's the option, right? If my kids are there I want to give them an option to go on stage, perform, so that they overcome that fear of being alone or talking to in public. So if your ambition is taking the kids and expose them to be on stage, do the dancing or singing is one option, then it's not a guilty part. But if you are going there and you have lots of dresses in the closet, but you still go there and buy 100 dresses from there, then it's a guilty part. So the option is always there. So what you take guilty or not guilty depends on the purpose of visit.
Okay, so this is what I think about whether we go to Taste of India, whether we spend money on clothes, whatever. You go, you saw it, you bought it, you're done.
Yes.
No more desires. You're not like going back home and, okay, and saying, oh man, I should have bought those 4 saris, and thinking about it for 3 days. You went, you bought it, done. Or you go and you say, I'm not buying anything, done. I'm not now thinking, oh man, I should have bought that necklace.
You are.
No, I'm not. I am not. That is the thing. That is the thing. Every year, like for the last year, they all will joke me. I'll tell them I am not going to buy anything, and then I'll buy something. This year I said, no, I'm not buying anything. And then I almost got tempted. Then Yasoda Rani said, you don't need that. It's boxy. She's right. I don't need it. I walked away. Guess what? No regrets. So whether I bought the 4 saris or I didn't, you buy it, you done it, done. Don't think about it. That's where the desire comes. When you keep like thinking about it, oh, I need this. You want to buy, move on, right? So this,
What is the verdict? That's all.
sorry?
No, not the verdict. I think she wants to talk about the number of
That
lives.
question,
Even it bothers me.
You answered it, but it's still kind of, it's not the 40 lakhs, it's just the way that question, it's because I'm thinking about it in today's terms, right?
Can
We have so many, like there's wars going on. So why are we, not the 40 lakhs, but why are we're still sacrificing 40 lakhs of men for the sake of 5 Pandavas. We still are, all over the world. Why are we still doing that? So
no. Well, how do you know we are doing that? Which side is the righteous side?
I didn't say there was a side. I did not say there was a side, because both sides, no, this is not a right or wrong thing. I am just saying that people, I'm saying it doesn't matter about the side.
No, but I mean, my whole question is, which side is the right side? I mean, okay, the one that Krishna is there is the right side. There is no Krishna. That's.
Or is there? Or is there Krishna? How do we not know that Krishna is there?
No,
Maybe it's not Arjuna, but Krishna is maybe there with, no, Krishna is there.
Yeah, I mean, he's, the second part of the thing is not talking about 5 and 40 and all these things. It's talking about principles. What is that principle?
Yeah.
So that is what is the righteousness. Upholding the righteousness for the future generations, not for that moment. That moment, 40 lakh people have died. So, but it is for the future generations that Krishna is talking about that principle. I think that's what I'm understanding from you.
See, I'll give you one example that we see in our daily lives as physicians. Especially in US, I have to give them great respect because we respect life immensely. So someone walks into the ER, yes, they'll ask for insurance, whatever, but they'll never stop treatment there. Because that person needs it, we give it. The billing and all happens at the back end later. You may get it, you may not get it. If they have it, they'll give you. If not, they won't give you. But the principle is save the life, no matter what. That's the principle. Why are we wasting 2 million on this, penniless person? We don't say that here. But in some places they do. Is that the right thing? No, it's not. We know that, right? Everybody in the room will agree with this. There's no controversy there. So that's the same principle. The principles are clear a lot of times. We give ourselves wiggle ways and this way and that way, explanations, this, that. But whatever you do, you do it, but the judges in God will make the judgment based on that, whether it was your own illusion. or whatever it is, we can't like.
Want to add one thing? For sometimes for bigger goals, like when we have these FDA that comes up when they try to select medicine or vaccine, there are different stages of trial. First, we try to test them on animals. Somebody animal lovers will say, why? Because they treat animals like humans. You can always question. Then they have in clinical trial also, you have first phase where you're testing on, say, 100 people. And there's every chance that 100 people can go on the negative side. But for a bigger cause, if you're trying to come up with some vaccine or something to treat bigger population, you have to go through that, and we can't question it. So sometimes if you do on the animals, you can say, okay, their life is shorter, maybe they're less evolved. That's why we try on them. So I guess maybe, I don't know if we can compare like this, but we might think.
The bigger reason.
So here the bigger reason being the principle at and that's yeah, I mean I'm totally understanding where this is coming from. I'm talking about in today's world where that stands, because there is no principle. Is that what we're saying? Which side is the right side?
No, I think the principle is there. Right principles is being decided by the people. So in a democracy, that's why there is so much importance given to democracies, because we always believe that in democracy, the voice of the people is best presented. So the government is represented by the people. So obviously the pulse or the principles of the people is what is represented by the principles of the government. So from that standpoint, that's why democracy is so much valued in the world. I think that's where that one comes. But whether we are willing to sacrifice, but the number of lives need not be just, in those days, they were all physically fighting. So anybody, they die. These days, you talk about billions and billions of dollars, okay, in terms of missiles and warfare. So I think that's what it is. So it's for a principle, based on that statement, for a right principle, no matter what, you can fight. You have to fight. That's what I think is the message.
So it's a very difficult question to answer. The reason is, in today's world, in olden days, you said Krishna is there, Pandavas and Kauravas. They have the physical presence, and there is no media or anything like to translate something like that. In today's world, every war starts with your life. And the first victim is always truth in the war. That's a saying. So when you look at that, now you decide who is talking truth now. Is Ukraine, I mean, let's take an example, whichever war it is. If you speak at, is Ukraine talking truth or Russia is talking truth? Who decides that fact? So it's very hard to tell from our perspective because we have no visibility at the top level leaders that are making decisions for their own, maybe for their country's sake, or maybe Russia is taking decisions for country's sake. Maybe they are true from their angle. Ukraine is talking, oh, this is invaded for the sake of Ukraine's benefit. They are talking for their people. They may be true. So that is very difficult situation for anybody to judge who is wrong and right. So I would say at the end of the day, there is a conscience. The entire world runs on a conscience which decides where the war goes and how it takes the turns. It is in nobody's control. And whatever happens, it always happens for good of the universe.
Thank you. I think that's a great way to end this satsang today. That whatever happens is for the good of the universe. That's a great takeaway today. So with that, I'm sorry.
Divine will.
Divine will. Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. So with that, let's end today. I just wanted to see. Sorry, didn't mean to make you feel. Okay, just as a life application, we focus on what works for you to live in the moment. For me, it's breath, but for each one of you, I mean, if you have a practice that we can share, that would be a nice way to bring ourselves out of that noise that we all face today back into the present moment. So with that, let's end with Om and three Shantis. Om. Shanta Shanta Shanti. Thank you all for participating today. Jai Sai Ram.
Yeah, this one. Yep.